Thank you for that. Now, let's talk about our agenda for Node today. We have a great panel of participants who have joined us today. One of our participants will be joining a little late due to some of our power constraints that are taking place throughout Northeast Ohio. But I just want to thank our committee for doing an exceptional job of putting this program together. Their leadership and commitment to sharing the practices and best practices, insights, solutions, and resources to advance economic development for a more vibrant economy is critical as we look forward and moving forward to advance our region. But two things. Before I hand over the virtual lectern to our panel facilitator, Alyssa Carpenter, who is our Director of Economic Development with the Greater Akron Chamber, to introduce her panel, I'm going to have our very own Sylvia McCone from Team NEO. He is our Senior Director of Industry and Innovation to come forward for a quick announcement regarding our manufacturing technology training registration, and then we are going to hand over the lectern to our facilitator, Alyssa, to lead a discussion with some of our region's top workforce development professionals. And they will be tasked with merging the world of economic development and workforce development in 30 minutes. So, which means, for time's sake, please utilize the chat for questions, and I will present your questions before the panel as we continue through. Silvio, if you are out there, my friend, I did see you. The lectern is yours for your announcement.
All right, thanks, Renee, and I'll be brief. I know we've got a lot to cover in 30 minutes, solving the world's workforce problems. I'm looking forward to that. So as Renee said, the Industry and Innovation team is hosting a brief training session learning opportunity next week. That'll be Tuesday, December 8th from 3 to 4 p.m. I will link the registration in the chat, and I'm sure you all will receive an email at some point as well. But what we're going to cover is really how to uncover technology and smart manufacturing opportunities when you're talking with companies or you're on that BR&E visit. Hopefully we're doing some in-person BR&E visits in 2021, and that'll make this a lot easier for you to talk technology and recognize things on the floor when you're out there with your businesses. But just a couple of things we're going to cover is just, overview smart manufacturing as a sort of a recap. I'm sure you all know lots about it, why that's beneficial, what to look for, and what might be a signal for an opportunity to implement smart manufacturing within one of your manufacturers, and how to bring in the right partner, solution provider, etc. So in a nutshell, that's what we'll cover. I'll link the registration in the chat, and I hope that you all can attend. That's it for me. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you, Silvio. Excellent. And Alyssa, it's yours.
Thank you, Renee. Thanks, Silvio. Good morning, everybody. Renee, I love your energy. It's contagious here. So
we need it for the snow.
This is very true. Very true. So thank you, everyone, for joining. So glad to have you. This morning, we have 4 of our economic development workforce partners on the line representing 7 of our 18 counties. So we get a really great perspective. This morning, we have Jennifer Meeks Eells, Executive Director for the Stark-Tusk Workforce Board, Bert, Cene, Executive Director for the Mahoning and Columbiana County Workforce Board, my partner in Summit County, Christine Marshall, representing Summit County and Medina County in their Workforce Area Council of Governments. And finally, I saw our friend Patrick Mohorcic has made it. He is the Director of Workforce Development for Lake County, and kudos to Patrick for navigating a power outage and the snow and making it to the office to plug in. So
my car was in a ditch for an hour, so we got here.
My goodness. Okay, extra points for you for that. We're glad you're safe. So how about we start out with each of our partners, starting with Jennifer. Introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your role, and Jennifer, maybe you can explain WIOA to us, because I know we get a lot of acronyms through all of our work, and for some of our colleagues that maybe aren't fully aware of what that means, can you help us out?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Sorry about that. So I am a local workforce board director. As Alyssa mentioned, I serve the Canton and New Philadelphia areas in Stark and Tuscarawas counties. And I am also currently serving as president of the Ohio Workforce Association. Our association represents all 20 workforce boards in Ohio, and we do a lot of work strategically with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, along with a lot of other statewide partners. So as far as WIOA, let me give you a brief descriptor of what that is. WIOA is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. That is the most current federal legislation that governs all of our workforce programs. WIOA funds come through the Federal Department of Labor, and in Ohio, then they are sent to the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services on behalf of the governor. At ODJFS, then, there are 20 local workforce boards throughout Ohio. ODJFS then sends the funds to those local 20 workforce boards. Under WIOA, we have 3 funding streams. One is to serve dislocated workers. Another is to serve low-income adults. And the last funding stream is to serve at-risk and low-income young adults up to age 24. And so we have a lot of flexibility with those dollars to serve both job seekers and businesses. And so as I was looking at some of the folks that are in this meeting this morning, I see my friend Rick Baxter from Alliance. How are you, Rick? And of course, John Kelly in Tuscarawas County is another economic development partner who we work very closely with in my local area. I think we find a lot of times some of the things that we see when we are working together with a business is the top need is for talent. And so the use of the WIOA funds can be strategized for things like on-the-job training. And so if a company is going to be doing a lot of hiring or maybe some specialized hiring where they need to train people on the job, we can look at eligibility factors for those types of job seeker candidates, develop a training plan with those individuals and that company, and then reimburse the employer up to 50% of their wages, or possibly more depending on the local policy while that person is being trained on the job. There's a lot of other really cool things, you know, that we'll talk about this morning, but kind of in a nutshell, those are the types of funding that we receive. Right now, in the COVID situation, Ohio has received some COVID emergency grant funds. Again, those are tied primarily to dislocated workers, but not entirely. We have also received some opioid grant money where we are focusing on individuals that have possibly been affected themselves or family members through opioid abuse. So again, we typically find that in times of, you know, distress like we're in right now with COVID and other situations, we find ourselves, I don't want to say flush with cash, but we do have cash available. So I think as you're meeting with your businesses and looking at economic development strategies, workforce is definitely a key to that. So with that, I will turn that back over to Alyssa and Patrick, and we can move on.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. How about Bert? Can you tell us a little bit about your role and if it's different than Jennifer's, or how do you operate in Columbiana and Mahoning?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Our roles are similar, but I think that based on the local area needs, excuse me, they differ in some ways. I am the director for Mahoning and Columbiana counties, 2-county area in Ohio. That's the Youngstown, region, also Lisbon, Salem in Columbiana County. We deal with economic development, with business, with job seekers, as Jennifer has alluded to. We pride ourselves in economic development coordination. We deal with the Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber. From the EDA side, we deal with Eastgate, with Omega. There's a lot of economic development partners that we deal with on a daily basis. We also pride ourselves in coordination. My theory has been that we can't solve these issues in our area alone. So we partner very closely across the state with other workforce entities. We partner in the eastern region with Jennifer and Stark in Tuscarawas County. And we also have an interstate agreement with Pennsylvania, where we have looked at our Mercer and Lawrence counties across our state lines because they share the same type of economic dislocation that we've seen over the years. So we reach out as far as we can, and we pride ourselves also on the employer side, making sure that we use our business resource network to make sure that we're trying to address that skills gap that Jennifer mentioned. So, but overall, the funding is the same. Dislocated adult and youth, WIOA, which is the federal act, is the same across the board. So that's pretty much where we're at in Mahoning and Columbiana County. So I'll turn it back over.
Thanks, Bert. Christine, can you give us a little update on your role?
Good morning. Thank you, Alyssa. So my role, again, is similar to what's been described. A little bit about how we implement WIOA in Summit and Medina counties is I have a staff of 3 people. So what that means is we're working to operate the local workforce development board office for Summit and Medina counties, which is defined by the state. You heard Jennifer mention earlier that there's 20 areas. Those are designated by the state of Ohio, and we actually have to be certified and be in compliance with several points in order to have our workforce area considered official. And they check on that every 2 years. One of the things that we're doing in our office with the 3 of us is we're performing what's basically the 16 roles and responsibilities that were outlined in the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act as being responsibilities of the board members. In Summit and Medina, we have 19 appointed board members. One thing to make note of is all of our board members across our local workforce areas are appointed by chief local elected officials. So in the case of Summit and Medina counties, we have a commissioner in Medina County that makes decisions on who should be appointed to the Summit Medina board. And then in Summit County, it's the Summit County executive that makes those appointments. One of the examples of those 16 roles and responsibilities is something called conducting procurement, of how we're going to manage those federal funds that Jennifer mentioned that come in those 3 buckets of youth, adult, and dislocated workers. Under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act of 2014, it became clear that you may appoint board members, but they aren't necessarily going to have the time to do things such as procurement, and that's why we have these board offices that you're learning about today. We also provide oversight of the Ohio Means Job Center system. All of my colleagues do that as well. So basically, we're operating a one-stop employment center, and that's a model with a system of partners. And in Summit and Medina counties, we have 17 partners across our 2 Ohio Means Job Center systems, and they provide over 60 full-time staff. Of course, that's when we were operating as a brick and mortar situation. We're going to get into that a little bit here, that we've now all gone virtual with these services. But pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, we will get back to managing that partner system and providing the oversight to make sure that all those community-based partners are working together to help the talent and the companies find each other. That's all I have at the moment, Alyssa.
Thanks, Christine. Patrick, if your role is different, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. Then let's get into how we can coordinate and dovetail our business outreach with the workforce network and utilize their services.
Sure. Like everyone else, mine is same but different. Where my role in Lake County, I just have one county where that's our WIOA designation. But in Lake, it's a quad organization, I guess we'll call it. So where I sit, it's the intersection of Job and Family Services, Ohio Means Jobs, the Lake County Commissioners, and the Workforce Development Board. So for me, I have about 4 different people I have to report to. And it can get it's a little different, where we oversee my predecessor who's staying on in my transition to the role. Bob Dawson actually oversees what's called SNAP funds, which is supplemental nutrition program for those who need, for people on food stamps. So it's a little bit different, same, but a little bit different. It's interesting here when I came to my role, because I came from a BRE role at the Lake County Port Authority, and I know I saw that Tim and Peter are on, 2 of my former colleagues. So working with them is very crucial because when they're meeting with companies, obviously the number one thing you hear about is workforce, whether people, and where it's nice to see,
Patrick, I think we might be losing you a little bit. Hey, Christine, perhaps you can talk, while his connection is coming back, maybe you can talk a little bit about how business outreach plays a role in your workforce development and how we as practitioners can best connect to the resources, and maybe then the others can contribute as well.
Sure. Well, in Summit, Medina counties, having 2 different counties, we have one, of course, is a metro, Summit County, and then we have our sub-metro, or sometimes called a bedroom community of both Cuyahoga and Summit, is Medina County. And there's 2 different approaches. So one thing about the workforce system is we have to be flexible when it comes to business outreach and how we intersect according to what our local government entities are asking us to do. In Summit County, our business outreach has really taken off the last few years due to a new model many of you may have heard of that's been rolled out called Elevate Akron, which of course considers all of Summit County, but a focus on some of the conditions that Akron is facing in terms of poverty and how to overcome that through job growth and getting talent out to the businesses that need these employees. So with that, it's been a coordinated effort where for the first time, workforce development is actually invited to the table. And in the past, it wasn't as coordinated as this. So what's happening now is when the economic developers, whether they're a local city or county economic development or a member of the Greater Akron Chamber, whenever they performed a BRE visit, and workforce development comes up in the conversation, which I believe, I don't know the exact statistic, Alyssa, you may have that, but I'm going to say it's close to 90% of the time when you're having a BRE conversation, talent is what comes out of that. And so then what happens then is there's an actual handoff to our board office. And then what we do is we work with our local business services teams that are located in our 2 Ohio Means Job Centers, whether it's Summit or Medina counties. And the business service team then does an outreach, to that company and explains what all of our services are that include things such as job posting, review of job descriptions, vetting resumes for candidates that are appropriate for the positions. Perhaps it's labor market information that a company needs. Sometimes companies are struggling with finding talent, and when we take a look at their job descriptions and their maybe their hourly rate of pay, what we find out is that it's not really what the market is bearing right now. So we show them the data that's being collected from the state of Ohio, which is the data source for all the labor market information that's collected. And we share that with the company and say, this type of a position is really more on average in this range, and that labor market information can better inform what those job descriptions will look like. And we work with the company as hands-on as they would like. We adjust if they just want us to send resumes or if they want us to do the interviewing. and just a whole series of outreach. And then what we do is report that back to the economic development team in Summit. In Medina, the Medina County Economic Development Corporation, I saw Bethany is on the call here today. Hi, Bethany. Bethany is also a member of our board. She represents the economic development portion that's required to be part of the Workforce Development Board. And she has a great understanding of the purpose and the intersection of workforce development, economic development. And with the Medina Economic Development Corporation, what we do is we are called in when they need us, when they're going out to see a company that's already expressed workforce need. They also are very good partners in terms of utilizing the Ohio Means Job Center, and at any given time will promote the services that we provide. And lately through virtual services, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit here, they've been a great partner with helping us get the word out about our job fairs and things that we're doing virtually.
Excellent. Thanks, Christine. Jennifer, I know you referenced the business resource network that you have in Stark and Tusk. Can you talk a little bit about that? And are there different strategies that you perhaps utilize in your region than Christine does?
Sure, thank you. So the Business Resource Network concept, I think a lot of workforce areas have adopted partnership models. They might not be called the Business Resource Network, but that strategy actually, I can't take credit for it. I have to give it to Bert, Cene in Mahoning, Columbiana, and also Trumbull counties, and their partnerships with Pennsylvania. They have really kind of taken the lead on coordinating a more structured process to engage both workforce and economic development strategies. So in my local area, you know, I saw that Harry Eden's now on the call. Harry also serves on my board, and John Kelly is very active with our Business Resource Network, as is Harry. Rick Baxter has been engaged with our Business Resource Network. I think Silvio, too, has been involved through Team NEO. So what we do is, again, it's more of a coordinated partnership and really brings, again, workforce to the table. I think we're all in agreement today that typically when we're doing calls on businesses, the number one thing they talk about is again, the need for workforce and talent. So some of the other things that we can do to coordinate service delivery also is, again, our partnerships of workforce with the state, for example. Right now, the state is running the Tech Cred program, which a lot of you are probably familiar with. So one of the things, too, that we worked out with the Development Services Agency and the Office of Workforce Transformation is when a company has applied for Tech Cred and maybe for some reason they're not funded, or their incumbent workforce is not funded for some reason, that information then is being shared back with the workforce boards and the Ohio Means Job Centers. So then our business teams and our business resource networks can reach out to that company to see if there's any other way that we can assist them, maybe through local incumbent worker training funds, or maybe through other coordinated strategies to help deliver the type of talent or training that they need. So I think that's one way that a coordinated effort can take place that would include our local economic development partners in that. I think, too, one of the things that we're really excited about in the Ohio Means Job Center systems is the state of Ohio ODJFS is having the locals now administer a program that's always been a state-run program called RESEA, and that is a reemployment strategy for those that are receiving unemployment insurance. And so a couple things, too, to make you aware of is under the COVID piece, there was a waiver that was granted until today, actually, until December 1st in the state of Ohio, that waived the work search requirement for those that were receiving unemployment. And again, that was because of COVID. Well, now with that waiver gone, I think we're going to see more activity again through the Ohio Means Job Centers, because individuals will now be required to do work search each week to continue to get their weekly unemployment benefit. Again, I see that as a great way to better partner through our business resource networks, our collaboration with economic development. As you're out talking with businesses, you can also make us aware of what their talent needs are. And we can assist, I think, in a better capacity now through the Ohio Means Job Centers, because we're going to have better access to those that are currently and recently unemployed. So I'm excited about that opportunity and really excited that the state, ODJFS, is allowing the locals to take that program over. I think we're going to see a lot more opportunity to connect with talent. I think Harry just sent a question a little bit ago about coordination of getting talent through the OMJ centers. And even though we might have separate workforce boards that serve certain counties, we as workforce board directors can make sure that there's coordination anytime that there would be a company need that maybe is drawing talent from a number of different counties. And we've done that before. Just a quick example, when gas and oil was really big a few years back, and there was a lot of tech companies coming in, or field technician companies coming in, we would coordinate with like Guernsey County and Tuscarawas County and Harrison County, you know, anytime there was recruitment opportunities, those types of things. So there's always a way to coordinate through the OMJ centers when a business is looking for talent. So please keep that in mind too. We can help you with that. Just connect with your local partner, and then we can work together to deliver whatever service you might need.
Excellent. Thanks, Jennifer. And Bert, kudos to you. It sounds like you've been a leader in starting these business resource networks for our state and the region. Maybe as we transition to our next question, we can talk a little bit about some of the strategies or initiatives that practitioners can take advantage of. Specifically, I know we've referenced virtual job fairs. And in this time of COVID, when everything needs to be socially distanced, can you kick us off? And I know Christine and Jennifer have both had experience with that as well. How the virtual job fairs can support our talent efforts.
Yes. Before I talk about the virtual job fairs, I'd just like to mention something about the Business Resource Network 2 that Jennifer provided an overview on. You know, one of the challenges that we had with coordination with economic development, we realized that there must be a coordination with economic development and workforce. However, the federal legislation prohibits us from spending money directly on economic development. And that was under the previous legislation, which was the Workforce Investment Act, and under our current legislation. So what we've done is we've worked under terms like layoff aversion and also strategic early warning, so that we can maintain coordination with economic development without spending dollars directly. So even though the feds realize that it's imperative that we work with economic development, they put a little caveat in there saying you can't spend money on it. So we've had to work around that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood with WIOA funds, there's many restrictions. As far as virtual job fairs, I have not had as much experience with virtual job fairs as Jennifer has. But what we've done in the past, I can tell you, is we've had many job fairs in our two county regions. We have a large venue in Youngstown where we used to hold on-site job fairs with over 5,000–6,000 people coming through. And then we got more strategic in our job fairs where they were industry specific. On the virtual side, we're starting to work now with Team Neo and with Jobs Ohio in rolling out some virtual job fairs. And this could be something that is because of COVID, or it could be the wave of the future. So it's new to us right now, but we definitely see the value in it. Obviously, if we can be successful in matching talent using the virtual side, it's much more effective in some cases to do that. So, but I don't have a lot of experience right now. I can't really tell you if it's been successful or not in our area.
Okay, excellent.
Hey, Alyssa, sorry, I'm back on. I'm on my phone. Our office power went out, so that's this is just a day for me. Anyway, we've done 2 in Lake. I will say I think it actually helps us attract more candidates to those positions because it reduces the travel barrier, whether it's driving here or it might be on public transit. Something we're doing from a talent perspective, I saw right when I got back on. I know Jennifer was talking about talent attraction. Like in Lake, we're working with LinkedIn to do a talent attraction ad campaign for our OMJ centers and our jobs in Pennsylvania. I want to say it's San Francisco, Colorado. We're launching that in January 1, and then advertising our job fair, which will be in February for virtual. So trying to get some of those boomerangs back, what we'll target them through whether they went to high school here in Lake County or whether they have family here. We could kind of, with LinkedIn, you could really get in the weeds on these things. So I think from a virtual job fair standpoint, we've obviously seen people getting hired from them, but which isn't the most important part. But from a talent perspective, trying to get people back into the county, it's a great opportunity as people leave the big cities. They maybe want to come back home, and still kind of have, we're right outside of Cleveland, so you still kind of have that big city feel. So that's something where I've seen some success in virtual job fair. We're hoping to measure that success here in 21.
One of the things, this is Christine, one of the things that I think we need to make mention about, it's not just a virtual job fair, it's recruitments. Again, when we had the bricks and mortar situation, every single day we had a company that we were performing a recruitment for. So it isn't always trying to attract a large group of employers. In fact, studies have shown that sometimes it's better to narrow to a particular sector, or sometimes it's better to narrow to just a company that's doing a specific outreach. And so when we made the switch, which of course COVID kind of was forced upon us to start doing things virtually, we actually started out just using Zoom because we needed to keep that contact going. So we would just set up a Zoom meeting with one company, and then we would have candidates log into the Zoom one at a time with an appointment and interview that way or discuss the job with the employer. But while we were doing that, we found out, of course, that there was a world of virtual software out there that allows for recruitment. So it's really called recruitment software. We ended up demonstrating or having demonstrations made of 5 different companies and ended up selecting a company that we felt best served the needs of Summit Medina. It's called Premier Virtual, and I believe, Patrick, you're utilizing that as well. For us, it just came down to multiple factors. One of the criteria is that we're able to have several job fairs going on at once if we're doing something in Summit and Medina, that it wasn't going to be limited. So we are able to do that with the software that we're utilizing. Also had to be easy for job seekers to utilize because that is one of the challenges. Patrick made mention that, yeah, you don't have the drive to the bricks and mortar, as I keep referring to, but you still have a gap in a lot of the folks that are looking for work and their ability to use an electronic format. So we have to be very intentional about being able to provide how-to videos and asking people to when they sign up to attend the recruitment, that they've watch the video, and if they have any questions, that our team can reach out and help them prior to them joining that recruitment. Also, we want to be able to have data collection, and we needed sustainable pricing. We always have to be mindful that we are operating, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, on federal dollars that flow through the state to our local workforce areas. And right now we do have a lot more money than we normally do due to COVID, and there's some specific grants that have been infused along with our regular formulary funds of adult dislocated and youth. But we do have to be mindful that can shift in a moment. And the state can move money from local workforce area to local workforce area if one of us isn't expending at the rate that they see fit. So when those things are happening, you have to make sure that you have something that's sustainable in the long run. And we feel that with Premier Virtual, we've accomplished that.
Excellent. Thanks, Christine. Jennifer, do you have anything to that? I want to be mindful of our time, and Renee, if there's questions, but I want to make sure we catch that, as well as if there's any legislative priorities perhaps you can speak to that are coming down the line for 2021 that we can expect to utilize.
Sure. So I guess just quickly to wrap up the virtual job fair piece, I think too, the message that we would want our economic development partners to know is that for most of the local workforce areas, we have access to some kind of tool, whether again it's through Jobs Ohio particularly, or like Christine mentioned, she and Patrick have purchased other tools. I know our colleague in Columbus, Lisa Pat McDaniel, she also purchased a different kind of virtual job fair tool. But if you're working with companies again and they want to do recruitment, we can do that now virtually. We have access to tools. We can definitely still continue to help businesses connect with job seekers. I think most of the Ohio Means Job Centers that are, their staff are working virtually. They're doing a lot through the use of technology. So, keep us in mind if you have needs there. I think as far as priorities go for this year, one big thing is on the federal level, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is now up for reauthorization. That federal legislation was signed back in 2014. It was a 5-year bill, and so 2021, we'll see what happens. We're going to have a new president, new Congress. So, we'll see. We've been keeping our feelers out, just, trying to figure out what they're going to do. There has been workforce legislation at the federal level since, the 1960s probably. So I'm sure they'll have something in place. And two, just so you're aware, typically what happens is they'll continue to fund us under a continuing resolution until they work something out. And WIA, the Workforce Investment Act, it was funded through a continuing resolution for almost 15 years. So I think at the state level, the only thing I'll say there is I find it interesting with the state of Ohio that there are really not a lot of state funds, state general funds that are invested in the workforce systems and the workforce boards. Most of the workforce type programming that we see is things, again, like Tech Cred, like the IMAP program, those types of programs that are run through other state agencies. They're not usually administered through the local. I think the other piece that we've been following through the Ohio Workforce Association is the piece around boards in particular. That would be all boards under the Sunshine Laws being allowed to operate virtually. We were actually working on some legislation prior to COVID to allow for virtual meetings to be, allowable. So that is one thing that I think is going to move forward now, of course, in this climate that we're in, that will become permanent. So I think that's really all that we have right now.
Very quickly, did we talk about, I know I missed part of it, did we talk about RESEA yet?
We did, Patrick.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
If I could just add one thing that I think is a best practice for for economic development practitioners. And again, it's a shout out to Bethany Dentler with Medina County Economic Development Corporation. That's a mouthful. Sorry, Bethany, I just murdered that. But anyway, one thing that they do is they have our local Ohio Means Job Center manager come to their monthly meeting and give a report to all the companies that are their, part of their membership. And what that report does, it highlights the number of job seekers that are using the Ohio Means Job Center services. It shares which industry sectors and hourly wage for people getting placed to employment. And it also discusses the types of training that people are enrolled in and what those certifications look like, those industry recognized certifications. So it keeps the employers in Medina County aware of the types of services. And I just think it's a really nice best practice to include the workforce development piece in that type of a meeting on a monthly.
Excellent. Thank you, Christine. And with that, We've got 3 minutes left by my clock. If anyone has any questions, we can open it up, or you're welcome to put them in the chat if you're experiencing technical difficulties.
I'd like to elaborate on Harry Eaton's question that he put here in the chat, Alyssa. And Harry, if you are out there on the line, if you'd like to speak to your question a little bit more for those who may not have been able to see the question that you presented, Jennifer did provide an answer. Harry, are you out there?
I am. And how are you today, Renee?
Very well, thank you, sir.
Good. The question that I asked was whether or not there was collaboration between the Ohio Means Jobs entities throughout the region, so that we are utilizing resources more effectively, perhaps, through collaboration rather than each organization having separate resources. And perhaps, that goes to things like Business Resource Network and those kinds of business retention and expansion techniques that we might be able to share expertise on between regions.
Any thoughts or further comments on that from our panelists?
I do know and Jennifer and Christine and Bert can correct me if I'm wrong, in WIOA, we could transfer funds to other workforce area boards. So let's say Lake is using a lot of our adult dislocated worker and Summit County is not. We could transfer funds to Lake and we would send over maybe more CCMEP or things like that. That is, I know there's an ability to do that. I have not, unfortunately, I've never done it before, but I'm pretty sure that is an availability. I think Jennifer, someone else who's done this a lot longer than I have, can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think too, Patrick, just and Harry too, just again around the collaboration coordination. I think there's a lot that we can do, among regional partners. And so we've done a lot of this in the past. I think as we move into this new virtual service delivery system that, in my mind, is probably going to be here to stay to some degree, even as we come out of this COVID situation. I do agree, Harry. I mean, I think there actually is going to be more opportunity to collaborate in wider regions and wider areas. As Patrick mentioned, I mean, they're recruiting folks to come back to the area that, are living across the country. I think we're going to see that. So we need to be prepared and equipped for this type of activity. And there's definitely, already strong partnerships established. So I think we can build on those as we move forward.
And a credit to my other three colleagues on the call. They've really built out what's called the Ohio Workforce Association, which I know Jennifer and Christine are on the executive committee, and I think Bert, you are too. But we meet with the state once a month, and we meet as the 20 directors once a month, as well as the state once a month as well. That's really collaborative to build out a coordinated effort, not only from a county specific level, but from a statewide level. And that's a kudos to my three other colleagues on here. They built that out, and it's really a tremendous organization, and it's only going to get bigger and better with the things we're working on now. And that collaboration's there from the top down. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in 2021, because I think we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline that's going to be really, really advantageous, not only the workforce development system, but the economic development system as well.
This has been great. We are at our 30-minute hour, just 1 minute over, and I wanted to push for one other question, but it looks like we are at our time here. I want to thank Alyssa, Patrick, Christine, Bert, Jennifer for their exceptional expertise in the field of workforce and helping us to understand how economic development plays a part in that. Bert, your information on, the legislation and the financial responsibility and accountability between the two, that was news to me. Great information on that, and which means that we've got to be more creative in terms of how we partner to advance workforce in communities. And a great example of that, I know Bethany works very well with Christine. I've seen some really great things coming out of Medina and that partnership and the way they've been collaborating. So great examples, testimonials. I appreciate everyone's time today. Put a reminder out there in the chat regarding our smart technology event coming up. So it is there. Remember to click that link and register for December 8th. And we thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful, snowy post-Thanksgiving day. And remember Robert Kennedy, or John Kennedy, the first one to pardon that turkey. Have a good day.